Why do most agents live paycheck to paycheck, and how do you avoid it? That's the topic of my conversation today. So what I'm going to teach you is exactly how to avoid living paycheck to paycheck as a realtor. It's interesting. Over the years I've been in real estate, whether a realtor is making $500,000 a year or $1 million a year, there's been one common theme that I've found out with realtors. It's like that they never have money. It's just the weirdest thing, right? So I'm going to talk to you today about how to avoid this. The first thing is attention management. These are three things that I put here on my tablet. The number one is realtors that are living paycheck to paycheck are easily getting distracted. They are living reactively versus proactively. And ultimately, they lack clarity and they lack direction. Along with that is they lack this ability to trust their hunch and to move forward because there's an emotional attachment to money. And when you don't got money, you freak the fuck out just a little bit. That's the reality of it. For example, when you see a bunch of money going into your checking account because you closed a couple of big deals, you feel great. Emotionally, you feel awesome. However, when the money starts to go down because you're not closing some deals, you start to freak out a little bit and you have scarcity that starts to kick in, or what I call protectionism, this fear that the money stops or shuts off or doesn't continue. And so what typically happens is when a realtor starts to get a little bit outside of that paycheck to paycheck, they then become addicted to working all the time because they're afraid if they stop working, they won't make money. They won't have enough money, right? The second thing is they just don't have a clear roadmap. They have no clear where they are or where they're starting. So the very first thing that people have to do when getting a roadmap is accept, where am I? What are the facts? What's the reality of my business, my cash flow, my investments, my ability, my skills, etc. The second part of that is there's just no freaking clue on where they're going. I remember when I first got into real estate, I had no idea what I was doing. Only closed 2 homes my first year. 12 months later, though, or after my first year, I got into a coaching program, and 12 months later, I closed 20-something homes. And what I realized to go from 0 to 20-plus homes a year was I had to have a system in place. And then a couple of years later, I went on to 75 homes a year. And what I realized to go from 20-something to 75 homes a year as a single agent with some assistance is my systems had to update, my systems had to change. And then I built a brokerage of 50-plus agents. And then I built a team. And then I built a network of 625-plus agents nationwide. But what had to adjust every step of the way, is write this down, is the system. And the way you get that system in place with your roadmap is know where you are, number one, and number two, where the hell are you going? And then the third part is you just don't know how to create one. When you think about it, do you really know how to sit down and create a roadmap or a 90-day action plan, like what you're specifically going to do to hit specific targets over the next 90 days? The reality is you have no stinking clue where to start. Most realtors don't. The third is state management. You doubt your ability, you lack certainty, or you have this thing called imposter syndrome. So typically what happens is I have men and women come to me inside of the WJR Academy, and they think they have to convince buyers and sellers to do business with them. And the reality is they need to convince these buyers and sellers that they're convinced they should be doing business with them. You have to convince yourself. And instead of lacking certainty, you have to have absolute freaking certainty that you're going to go make it happen, that you're going to go put money into the bank. When I see imposter syndrome, it really hits agents in two different ways. One is agents are afraid to admit they're not as great as they really pretend to be. So they don't want to get the support or the proximity or the help that they require to move forward. Or the other is they actually think that they're not as great as they really are. Like they're afraid that if they let themselves lose and go be successful, people might discover that they're a fraud or something like that, right? So there's two parts of this imposter syndrome. One is you think you're better than you really are, or two is you actually don't think you're as great as you really are. But typically in the early stages is people are afraid to ask for help, so they'll pretend and they'll wear this mask that they've got it figured out, when the reality is they need to develop this belief that I support others and I allow others to support me, and I get into proximity, I get help to find out the solutions to my problems even quicker. It's about compressing time. The last part of why agents are living paycheck to paycheck is because of cash flow management. They have a corrupt financial blueprint. They lack financial literacy, and they were simply never taught how to manage their money. One of my mentors once said to me, his name is T. Harv Eker, he said, Colton, if you can't manage $1, you'll never be able to manage $1 million. And so I took that to heart and realized that how I manage my money, no matter how much I have, how little or how much, it is the starting point to create financial responsibility that will then increase the amount of cash flow that comes into me. For example, if the corrupt financial blueprint is that I lack, or that money doesn't grow on trees, or that you have to be a bad person or screw people over to get money, or you just, you know what, it's too expensive. I hear that one all the time. If that's your corrupt financial blueprint, that's what you'll perpetuate more of. So you've got to switch it to money comes to me easily and frequently. Money comes to me in avalanches of abundance. All my needs, desires, and goals are met instantaneously. And it's rewiring that financial blueprint. So what are some of the solutions? The number one thing that we're going to look at as a solution is proximity. Write this down. Proximity equals power. So there's a simple 4-step solution to getting whatever it is you want, specifically in life, and even more so in the real estate business. And the first step of that is find the person or the company or the coach or the mastermind and look at the person and that has the physical results that you want. Do you want to have business freedom? Do you want to have cash flow or financial freedom? Do you want to have soul freedom? Then find the person that is living it the way you want and get into proximity with them. You can do that through coaching. You can do that through masterminds. You can do that through live events. You can do that through virtual trainings. But here's what's important on this last step. There is free proximity and there is paid proximity. If you want to accelerate even quicker, have paid proximity. Now, I don't say this to impress you, to impress upon you why I'm so committed. In the last 12 months, I've spent over $120,000 with Tony Robbins alone in his Platinum Circle Mastermind. Why? Because I want that proximity around other people that can afford that, number one. But number two is I want to learn from the man, the myth, the legend himself. I want to learn on how to apply to go from a 7-figure business to an 8-figure business. Like that's the start. I have to start thinking. So no matter where you're at in your business, you've got to find out who do you need to get around that's doing that. And one way is to pay for that proximity. The second step, when we look at those 4 fundamentals I was teaching you earlier, is you've got to be coachable. Level 10, willingness to change, show up and learn. This is what you call your coachability index or your learnability index. It's got to be level 10. Because if you're not coachable, if you use the 3 most dangerous words in the English language that are, I know that, you've already shut yourself off to learn and become aware of your blind spots. The third, though, is what I call the believability index. So often I see agents like you get stuck in how do I do this? How do I go find new leads? How do I get this listing signed instead of all these buyers? How do I make my first hire? How do I build a team? How do I manage them? And so the how gets nailed. What I want to have you consider, though, is what's important about that for you. And this is what's called flooding it with certainty. What's it going to do for your life when this happens? And this is a level 10 believability index. There's 3 stages of this. One stage is you think it's impossible. Another stage is you begin to think, well, it's possible. I want to encourage you to find that third space, which is, it is highly probable that it's, whether it's that $15,000 a month or like some of my clients, right now they're attacking that $100,000 a month. And some of my top clients are like, dude, it's time to hit $1 million in a month. And so to think, depending on where you're at, to hit $1 million in a month, some of you might be like, dude, I'd love to hit $1 million in a year. And some of us, our clients are talking about doing $100,000 in a month. You're like, dude, I'd love to do $100,000 in a year. So no matter where you're at, you've got to switch from impossible to possible to really ideally highly probable. And like I said, the way you do this is be willing to pay for proximity, to be around the people or the company or the coaching or the mastermind that is doing it at a high level, and you stick with it. The second part of this is life management, something that you can start immediately right now today. And there's 2 parts to this. One's called a smart day and one is called a smart week. A smart day is a 30-minute CEO meeting with yourself where you get clear on your outcome for the next 24 hours. What is your outcome in business, in family, in health, in financials, in your spiritual connections? And when we can get clear on outcomes as opposed to just to-do lists, We'll have more clarity, we'll have more direction, we'll have more certainty in ourselves. The second is a smart week. And a great book you can check out, The Road Less Stupid, talks about it and calls it a think time. But a smart week is a 90-minute meeting with yourself every single week where you do what great leaders do. And write this down. Great leaders ask themselves great questions. And all you're going to do for 90 minutes is ask yourself great questions to cause awareness. What are you afraid of? Where are you stuck or discontent? What is this costing you psychologically, emotionally, financially, with your relationships? Who can you ask for feedback? What other questions can you ask yourself? How can you overcome the solution to this situation? What do you want your next 7, 30 days, 90 days to look like? When would right now be a great time to make a shift? And what are 2 to 3 actions that you can commit to move forward over this next 7 days that allow you to move forward to where you're going? That's what great leaders do, okay? And then the third is state management. This is all about your routines and your rituals and how you correct and continue. So there are three routines to your day: a morning, a day, and an evening. And if I ask you what does time equal, I can promise you're probably going to be one of 3 answers. I usually hear time equals money, time equals freedom, or time equals emotion. Time equals opportunity. I actually believe time equals emotion, energy in motion. So if you look at your morning, what is the emotional outcome you want for your morning? It's probably peace, clarity, direction. Where am I going? You want this sense of knowingness that everything is okay and that you have a plan and a roadmap. The second part is your day, your daytime routine. What does that look like? Well, you probably want a sense of certainty that you're going to go get paid, that you're going to go make money. You want the sense of playfulness, aliveness, excitement, enthusiasm. And then your evening routine is all about a sense of relaxation, connection, appreciation, a sense of achievement, like you're actually moving forward to what you want to create in your life. But here's what will happen. You fill your routines with these rituals or actions that cause these emotions. You will get knocked off on course. You will get a wrench in your spokes. Your plan and your roadmap gets messed up all the time. It's your ability to correct and continue that is extremely important. And then the final thing is to avoid living paycheck to paycheck as a realtor is master cash flow management. And there's really 3 specific things. The first is learn to pay yourself first. The biggest, funniest thing I hear in my days in real estate, and for whatever reason, I always hear this with Keller Williams agents, it's the strangest thing, is I'm investing back into my business. So I don't have the profit right now. And if you've ever caught yourself saying that, or you hear a realtor saying it, I want you to remember this. It's a lie. It's really the inability to manage your cash flow and really manage your expenses. So the first rule of this is pay yourself first. And how do you do it? 2 major accounts. The first here is called your financial freedom account. This is your profit first account, which is by a great book to read, by the way, Profit First. But you take money off the table. The first expense for your business is money you're going to go invest in more real estate, in the stock or equities, in cryptocurrencies, in whole life insurance policy, gold, silver, whatever it is, you got to get 15 different uncorrelated assets. And it starts by taking money out of your business to go do that from the get-go. But the second rule to this, to pay yourself first, is you are your greatest asset, your number 1 most important asset. So that means you've got to invest in you. You've got to put money into yourself, which is your education account. This is the idea of paid proximity into a coaching program, a mastermind program, a virtual training program, a one-on-one coach. My belief is have 1 to 2 one-on-one coaches at a time, be in 1 to 2 masterminds at any given time, go to 3 to 4 full immersion live events throughout the year, and ultimately make sure that you're following through with a video training system so you can apply these systems in your life. So here's what I want to encourage you to do is this September is my next WGR live event. And you can go get a ticket on sale right now to either attend in person, which I highly recommend, fly in for it, or you can attend virtually via Zoom, which is an incredible experience and show that we put on, by the way. So tickets are available now at www.wgrlive.com. It's going to be an extraordinary event. I want to see you there. So you can get your tickets, wgrlive.com, get your general admission ticket, or you can get a VIP ticket, whatever you decide, but get involved, choose to invest in yourself, choose to get paid proximity. I get people that call me. In fact, my top one-on-one clients pay me $30,000 a year for 3 15-minute calls a month. So I have constantly people coming to me asking for a level of mentorship or coaching, and I want to deliver to as many people as I can. WGR Live is a way that I can do that on a very inexpensive dollar amount for you to invest in yourself. So you get into the ecosystem, you can learn how I can help you and how I can support you. And so I want to see you there. It's September 16th through the 18th. You can get an in-person or virtual ticket at www.wgrlive.com. Thanks so much. We'll see you there.